The ship glided silently through space, its sleek hull reflecting the distant stars. Inside, Ambassador Ethan Summers adjusted his uniform and took a deep breath. After decades of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, they finally had their answer. Not only were aliens real, but they had formed a massive alliance called the Galactic Confederation. "We're approaching Nexus Prime, sir," said Lisa Wright, commander of the Earth Defense Team assigned to protect the diplomatic mission. Her eyes never left the display screen showing the alien world growing larger as they approached. "How are you feeling, Ambassador?" asked Jason Miller, Summers' deputy and longtime friend. "Like I'm about to make the most important handshake in human history," Summers replied with a nervous smile. The human ship docked at the massive space station orbiting Nexus Prime. The station itself was a marvel of engineering, a spinning wheel of gleaming metal and crystal that housed representatives from 27 different alien species. The welcome ceremony was exactly as the Confederation had described in their messages. Tall, elegant aliens with blue-tinted skin led the human delegation through wide corridors. Beings of all shapes and sizes watched them pass. Some looked almost human. Others were so strange that the human mind struggled to make sense of their forms. High Counselor Zexera, leader of the Confederation, greeted Summers with a formal bow. "The addition of humanity to our galactic family would be most welcome," the alien said in perfect English, learned from the radio and television signals that had been leaking from Earth for decades. For 3 days, the meetings went well. The humans shared information about Earth culture, science, and history. The aliens showed patience with human questions and excitement about potential trade. On the 4th day, Commander Wright noticed something strange about the walls in the human quarters. Her military training had made her cautious by nature. She ran a small scanner over the wall and frowned at the results. "Ambassador," she said quietly, showing Summers her findings. "They've been watching us. These devices are recording everything we say and do." Summers felt a chill run down his spine. The Confederation had promised privacy in their quarters. This was a clear violation of the diplomatic agreement. When confronted, Zexera's assistant made excuses about standard security protocols. But Wright's team found more devices, some designed to scan for weapons technology and military capabilities. "They're treating us like threats, not guests," Wright told Summers as they gathered in what they hoped was a secure corner of their quarters. That evening, Summers requested an emergency meeting with the High Council. The tension in the room was obvious as Summers presented evidence of the spying devices. "We came in peace," Summers said firmly. "We expected honesty and respect." The aliens shifted uncomfortably. A smaller green-skinned alien named Vrek whispered something to Zexera. "Humans advance very quickly," Zexera finally said. "Your species went from primitive flight to space travel in less than a century. Your history shows constant warfare. The Council merely wished to ensure you weren't concealing military intentions." Wright noticed the Verlixian guards moving to block the exits. She signaled her team to be alert. "We shared everything openly," Summers replied. "You were the ones who approached us. You were the ones who invited us here." A junior diplomat, Aaron Kelly, moved to stand beside Summers, not noticing the nervous Verlixian guard nearby. The guard, jumpy and inexperienced, misinterpreted the movement. An energy weapon fired. Kelly fell. Wright's security team reacted instantly, drawing their own weapons. "Stand down," Wright shouted, but it was too late. More shots were fired. 3 human security officers dropped to the floor. Ambassador Summers clutched his chest, where energy blast had struck him. Wright dragged the wounded ambassador behind a large table as chaos erupted in the council chamber. "This was supposed to be peace," Summers gasped, blood soaking through his formal diplomatic uniform. Hours later, the surviving humans were secured for their own protection in reinforced quarters. Armed guards stood outside their doors. Medical treatment was provided, but communication with Earth was denied. As Summers drifted in and out of consciousness in the alien medical facility, the Confederation High Council gathered to discuss the problem of humanity. Perhaps, suggested a senior counselor, it would be safer for the galaxy if humans remained confined to their home system. On Earth, the loss of contact with their diplomatic mission had already triggered emergency protocols. Humanity was about to show the galaxy exactly why the Confederation should have been more careful with their first impressions. The news reached Earth 12 hours after communication with the diplomatic team was lost. The military satellite that had been keeping watch beyond the orbit of Pluto captured the entire incident through the open communication channel. President Catherine Morgan watched the recording in the White House Situation Room, her face growing paler with each passing moment. "Play it again," she said quietly to the room full of military leaders and government officials. Once more, they watched Ambassador Summers fall, struck by alien weapons. They watched Commander Wright and her team try to protect their people. They watched their diplomats being dragged away by alien guards. "They fired first," said General Henry Griffith, head of the Joint Chiefs. "Unprovoked." "Not just unprovoked," added Secretary of State Diane Foster. "Our people were there by invitation. This is worse than an act of war. It's a betrayal of basic diplomatic principles." President Morgan stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the world was still normal. People went about their day, unaware that humanity had just made contact with alien life in the worst possible way. "What do we know about their capabilities?" she asked. Admiral Scott Perry stepped forward with a tablet. "Our deep space probes have been tracking their ships. They have faster-than-light travel, energy weapons, and advanced shield technology, but they seem surprised by some of our developments." "What do you mean?" the president asked. "Their reaction to our nuclear capabilities was unusual. They seemed almost shocked that we would develop such weapons, and their computer security is surprisingly basic. We've already managed to break into some of their communication channels." "They think we're primitive," said Dr. Olivia Hayes, the government's top xenobiologist. "But we evolved differently than they did. Most of the Confederation species developed through cooperation. Humans evolved through competition." "What are they saying about us?" President Morgan asked. "They're debating what to do with Earth," Admiral Perry replied. "Some want to quarantine our entire solar system. Others are suggesting a preventative strike to neutralize our military capabilities." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "They fear us," General Griffith said finally. "They've never encountered a species like us before." President Morgan returned to her seat at the head of the table. "I need options. I won't let our people remain prisoners, and I won't allow Earth to be threatened." For the next 8 hours, Earth's leaders debated their response. Military plans were drawn up. Fleet deployments were discussed. The world's best hackers were gathered to penetrate deeper into alien communications. At 8:00 p.m. Eastern Time, President Morgan addressed the world. Billions watched as she revealed the existence of alien life, the diplomatic mission, and its disastrous outcome. "Citizens of Earth," she said, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "Today we face the greatest challenge in human history. Our peaceful outreach to the stars has been met with violence and treachery." Screens around the world showed images of the alien council chamber, the attack on the diplomatic team, and the wounded Ambassador Summers. "We came in peace," President Morgan continued. "We extended our hand in friendship, and they responded with violence. They now hold our people prisoner and debate whether to attack our world." She paused, her eyes looking directly into the camera. "Humanity will not be subjugated. We will not allow our fate to be decided by those who fear our potential. As of this moment, 900 hours Universal Coordinated Time, July 17, 2088, Earth formally declares war on the Galactic Confederation." Across the stars, the declaration spread through the channels that Earth's hackers had already infiltrated. In the grand meeting halls of Nexus Prime, alien representatives listened with a mixture of shock and disbelief. "They are declaring war on us?" asked one counselor, antenna twitching in confusion. "One world against 27 advanced civilizations." High Counselor Zexera watched the human president's face on the screen, noting her unwavering resolve. "Perhaps," said an elder member of the Zivar species, "we should have been more careful in our assessment of humans." Across the Confederation, news of the Human Declaration was met mostly with amusement. Some species even found it entertaining that such a primitive world would challenge the combined might of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. That amusement would not last long. The aliens did not understand humans. This was their first mistake. Chief Science Officer Alan Hayes stood in the war room beneath the Rocky Mountains. Around him, screens displayed data from the limited technology exchanges the Confederation had shared during the brief diplomatic contact. He had not slept in 3 days. "Look here," he said, pointing to a screen showing signal patterns. "Their quantum communications follow predictable patterns. They use the same frequencies over and over." General Griffith leaned closer. "Can we disrupt them?" "Better," Hayes said with a tired smile. "We can listen to everything they say. And eventually, we can send false messages." While Earth prepared, Captain Frank Dias and his Special Forces team approached Nexus Prime in a stolen alien supply ship. Their mission was simple but nearly impossible: rescue the captured diplomatic team. Remember, Dias told his 12 team members as they prepared their weapons, "We're not just saving our people. We're gathering intelligence on their military capabilities." Dias's team wore armor stripped from Confederation security guards. They had studied alien movements and speech patterns for weeks. Each member could now pass for a guard from a distance. They docked with the space station undetected. Using fake security codes obtained by Earth's hackers, they moved through the massive station. "The detention level is 3 sections over," whispered Sergeant Amy Collins, checking a stolen station map. They encountered 2 real guards outside the detention area. The fight was brief and silent. Dias used a dart gun with sedatives designed specifically for the alien biology. Inside the detention area, they found Commander Wright and 5 other survivors. Ambassador Summers had died from his wounds 3 days after the attack. "About time," Wright said when she saw Dias. She looked thin, but her eyes were clear and determined. "I've memorized their patrol schedules and shift changes." "That's not all we need," Dias replied. "We need their military protocols, defense systems, anything you observed." Wright smiled. "Better than that. I stole this." She held up a small crystal data storage device. "It's their tactical manual." The extraction was not as smooth as the entrance. Alarms sounded as the team reached their stolen ship. Alien security forces surrounded the docking bay. "Get the ship started," Dias ordered. "We'll hold them off." The firefight was intense. Energy weapons flashed across the docking bay. 3 members of Dias's team fell. But the aliens were not prepared for human combat tactics. They expected enemies to take cover and exchange fire from fixed positions. The humans moved constantly, working in pairs to flank the aliens. The ship launched with 9 human survivors aboard, plus the 6 rescued diplomats. They escaped into deep space before larger Confederation vessels could respond. On Earth, Admiral Grace Liu prepared humanity's first real attack. Her fleet of 30 warships gathered near Proxima Centauri, the closest star to Earth. Human intelligence reported that a Confederation patrol fleet would pass through the system in 2 days. "They outnumber us 3-1, her second-in-command pointed out. Liu nodded. "Yes, but they expect us to fight like they do. They've never fought humans before." When the Confederation fleet arrived at Proxima Centauri, they found what appeared to be disabled human ships floating among the asteroid belt. As they moved closer to investigate, hidden nuclear mines detonated throughout the asteroid field. The explosions disabled the alien shields. Then the dead human ships came to life. They attacked from all sides at once, using the electronic warfare techniques developed by Hayes to disrupt alien communications. Unable to coordinate, the Confederation ships fired blindly. One by one, the alien ships were destroyed or disabled. By the time the battle ended, 27 Confederation vessels had been destroyed. The human fleet lost only 3 ships. News of the defeat spread quickly through Confederation space. The HFY, one of the oldest species in the galaxy, called an emergency meeting of the High Council. "These humans," said Supreme Elder Xanthar, "do not fight like civilized beings. They use deception and surprise. They fight with a ferocity we have not seen before." Another counselor spoke up. "They are just one world. We can crush them with our combined might." "Can we?" asked Xanthar, eyes fixed on the battle footage. "I am not so certain anymore." 1 year into the war, the Galactic Confederation was no longer amused by humanity's resistance. They were worried. Admiral Joe Peterson sat on the bridge of his flagship, the EDF Defiance. His small fleet of 7 ships hid in the dust cloud of the Orion Spur, waiting. The ship's systems were running silent, with only minimal life support. "Confederation supply convoy approaching," whispered the sensor officer. 5 cargo ships with 2 military escorts. Peterson nodded. "Just as our intelligence said. All ships prepare to attack on my mark." This was the 8th raid Peterson had led in 3 months. His fleet never stayed in one place for long. They would strike quickly, then disappear before reinforcements arrived. "Sir, shouldn't we wait for backup?" asked his young executive officer. Peterson shook his head. "No time. Every supply ship we take out means one less Confederation outpost gets food and weapons." The human ships surged from their hiding place. The Confederation escorts were caught completely by surprise. They had become lazy, used to safe passage through their own territory. Before they could raise shields, human missiles struck their engines. "Disable, don't destroy," Peterson ordered. "We want those supplies intact." The battle lasted less than 10 minutes. The Confederation ships surrendered quickly once they realized they were outmatched. Peterson's crew boarded the cargo ships and found enough food and medicine to supply Earth's colonies for months. On the Confederation capital of Nexus Prime, Supreme Elder Xanthar of the HFY looked at the latest reports with growing alarm. "Another successful human raid," Xanthar told the High Council. "Admiral Peterson's fleet has destroyed or captured 23 of our vessels in the past 3 months." "How do they always know where our ships will be?" asked a counselor from the Verlixian species. "They have infiltrated our communication systems," replied Xanthar. "Our quantum entanglement technology, which has served us for centuries, is now our greatest weakness." Another counselor spoke up. "These humans do not adhere to civilized warfare. They employ deception and fight with a ferocity that borders on madness." "They fight to win," Xanthar said simply, "while we fight according to ancient rules and traditions." In the outer regions of Confederation space, other species were watching the conflict with interest. The Vextal, a race of skilled merchants and information brokers, saw opportunity in the changing balance of power. Dorvan, a Vextal trader, met secretly with human representatives on a neutral mining station. "My people have no love for the Confederation," Dorvan told the human diplomats. "They tax our trade routes and restrict our movements. We can provide you with information about Confederation fleet movements." "What do you want in return?" asked the lead human negotiator. "Access to human technology," Dorvan replied. "Your weapons are crude but effective. Your ships are simple but unpredictable. We see potential in trade relations with Earth." These secret meetings happened across the galaxy. Species that had long resented Confederation rule now saw a chance for change. The war took another turn when human forces liberated the mining colonies of Ta City. The colonies were worked by enslaved populations of 3 different alien species. The Confederation had told humanity that all member species were equal partners. The reality was very different. When human soldiers broke open the labor camps, the prisoners stared in disbelief at their rescuers. "You came for us?" asked a tall, thin alien with 4 arms. "Why would humans help our kind?" Captain Laura Barnes, leader of the Liberation Force, offered water to the prisoner. "Because no one deserves to live in chains." The Confederation lied about many things. News of the liberation spread quickly through Confederation space. Security forces had to put down riots on 6 different worlds as populations learned the truth about human intentions. On Earth, military leaders gathered to plan the next phase of the war. The initial strategy of defense and limited strikes had worked better than expected. Now it was time to push deeper into Confederation territory. The Confederation is not the unified force they pretended to be, President Morgan told her war cabinet. Their member species have grievances and rivalries going back centuries. We can use that. General Griffith nodded. Their biggest advantage is still their numbers. But if we can turn some of their member species to our side, or at least to neutrality, then we have a real chance to win this war, the president finished. By the 3rd year of war, the galaxy was changing. Species that had been part of the Confederation for hundreds of years began to question their loyalty. The Korvax Empire, known for their logical thinking and advanced technology, was the first major power to officially declare neutrality. We have observed human tactics and strategy, announced Emperor Zahn of the Korvax in a galaxy-wide broadcast. They fight to defend themselves, not to conquer. The Confederation's claim that humans seek to rule the galaxy is false. This announcement sent shockwaves through the Confederation leadership. The Korvax controlled important trade routes and production facilities. Without them, the war effort would suffer greatly. Soon after, the Melosians, a species with powerful telepathic abilities, began actively supporting human operations with intelligence. They had been treated as second-class members of the Confederation for generations due to fear of their mental powers. On Earth, military technology advanced at an incredible pace. Scientists worked day and night to adapt alien technology captured in battle. Dr. Susan Clark led a team that developed new shield technology that could adapt to different types of weapons. The key was understanding how energy flows. Dr. Clark explained to military leaders. Confederation shields are static. Ours adjust and learn from each attack. Meanwhile, engineers Jack Martinez and Priya Kaptri created a new faster-than-light drive that allowed human ships to jump between stars with greater precision than Confederation vessels. Confederation ships need to follow established jump points, Martinez said. Our ships can basically jump from anywhere to anywhere. These advantages helped balance the odds, but humanity was still outnumbered. They needed a decisive victory to turn the tide of war. General Paul Ward proposed a bold plan called the Thermopylae Gambit. It was risky, but if it worked, it could destroy a significant portion of the Confederation fleet in a single battle. We lure their main fleet into the Arcturus asteroid field, Ward explained, pointing to a star map. Then we trigger synchronized nuclear detonations that will create a chain reaction through the field. President Morgan, her hair now streaked with gray from the stress of 3 years of war, studied the plan carefully. The casualties on our side? She asked. High, Ward admitted. We'll need ships to remain behind to ensure the enemy stays trapped in the field until the detonations begin. After 3 days of debate, the plan was approved. Admiral Grace Liu, hero of the Battle of Proxima Centauri, volunteered to lead the operation. My ship will be part of the blocking force, she insisted. I won't ask my people to make a sacrifice I'm not willing to make myself. The battle began with a small human fleet attacking the Confederation outpost near Arcturus. As expected, the Confederation responded by sending their main fleet to crush the humans once and for all. The human ships retreated into the dense asteroid field. The Confederation fleet followed, eager to finally corner their elusive enemy. They did not realize they were being led into a trap. Once the Confederation ships were deep in the asteroid field, human vessels at the edge of the field activated their drives and escaped. Only Admiral Liu's blocking force remained, fighting desperately to prevent the Confederation ships from leaving. Liu stood on her bridge as enemy fire rocked her ship. Detonation in 30 seconds, reported her tactical officer. It has been an honor, Liu told her crew. Earth will remember your sacrifice. The nuclear charges planted throughout the asteroid field detonated in a carefully planned sequence. The explosions created a cascade of destruction that spread through the entire field. Asteroids became deadly projectiles, slamming into ships and each other. When the dust settled, nearly a third of the Confederation's military strength had been destroyed in a single day. Admiral Liu and her blocking force were lost, but their sacrifice had changed the course of the war. Standing aboard the flagship EDF Liberty, Supreme Commander Linda Brown received news of the victory. The cost had been high, but the path to winning the war was now clear. "We didn't start this war," she told her crew, "but we will end it. Not for conquest, but to secure our rightful place among the stars." After the Battle of Arcturus, the once mighty Galactic Confederation began to fall apart. Species that had harbored grudges for centuries saw their chance to break free. The Dravenir Collective, a group of warrior planets on the Outer Rim, withdrew from the Confederation first. Their ambassador stood before the High Council and removed the Confederation insignia from his uniform. "For 300 years, you have used our soldiers as frontline troops, while your species remained safe in the core worlds," he said. "We will fight for ourselves now." Within months, the hegemony of Altair and the Foreign Assembly also declared independence. The Confederation, once spanning over 1,000 worlds, lost nearly a third of its territory in less than a year. Refugee ships clogged the space lanes as civilians fled the expanding conflict. The ancient Eurythi, peaceful beings who had joined the Confederation seeking protection, found themselves caught in the middle. When human forces arrived at their homeworld, the Eurythi expected the worst. Captain Ben Russell led the human fleet that entered Eurythi space. His orders were clear: neutralize the Confederation military presence, but avoid civilian casualties. "Attention Eurythi leadership," Russell broadcast. "Our quarrel is not with your people. We target only military installations. Civilian centers will not be harmed." The Eurythi, who had been told humans were bloodthirsty monsters, watched in amazement as the human forces precisely destroyed Confederation military bases while leaving cities untouched. When the operation was complete, Russell met with Eurythi elders. "The Confederation used your fear to control you," he explained. "Humanity seeks allies, not subjects." Back on Earth, the war effort had united humans like never before. Old national rivalries faded as resources and research were pooled globally. The lunar shipyards, built into the moon's surface, produced vessels at a rate that alarmed even the most optimistic Confederation intelligence analysts. "They build 5 ships for every one we destroy," reported a Confederation spy. "Their production capacity exceeds our estimates by 300%. Captain Olivia Mitchell led a small team on a dangerous mission deep into Confederation space. Their target, the Confederation's Central Archives on Nexus Beta, repository of all official Confederation records going back thousands of years. "Our mission is information, not destruction," Mitchell told her team as their stealth ship approached the heavily guarded world. "We need to know the truth about Confederation history." Using adaptive camouflage technology, Mitchell's team infiltrated the massive archive complex. While guards patrolled outside, the humans downloaded thousands of historical records. What they found shocked even the most cynical among them. Records of subjugated species, genocides covered up as natural disasters, and systematic exploitation of resource-rich worlds by the founding species of the Confederation. "They've been lying about everything," Mitchell whispered as she read file after file. "The Confederation was never about peace. It was about control." When Mitchell's team returned to Earth with the stolen records, military leaders decided to make the information public. Using the communication channels that Earth's hackers had infiltrated, they broadcast the truth throughout Confederation space. The effect was immediate and devastating. Public support for the war collapsed on multiple worlds as citizens learned their government had been lying for generations. Protests erupted in major Confederation cities. Military ships found their crews unwilling to fight. On the planet Terras IV, protesters surrounded the government buildings. "No more lies," they chanted. No more war. The Confederation High Council met in emergency session. Their perfect society was unraveling around them. "We must crush these rebellions," insisted one counselor. "Show strength, not weakness." "With what forces?" asked another. "Half our fleet is destroyed or has defected. Earth's production capacity now exceeds our own. And the humans keep winning battles despite being outnumbered." High Counselor Zexera, who had first met Ambassador Summers years ago, looked older and tired. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "it is time to consider peace negotiations." "Peace," scoffed another counselor. "After what they've done." "After what we've done," corrected Zexera. "We fired first. We imprisoned their diplomats. We threatened their world. Everything that has happened since was our doing, not theirs." As the council argued, a junior officer entered with urgent news. Human fleets had been detected moving toward the Confederation core systems. The final phase of the war had begun. In the 6th year of the war, Earth launched what they hoped would be the final offensive. Operation Daybreak was the largest coordinated military action in human history. Hundreds of ships gathered at the edge of Confederation space, ready to strike. General Eric Wells stood on the bridge of the command ship EDF Horizon, looking at the holographic display of the battlefield. Years of planning had led to this moment. "All fleet commanders report ready, sir," said his communications officer. Wells took a deep breath. "Begin the operation." Across 7 sectors of space, human forces moved at once. The main fleet, led by Wells himself, pushed toward the Procyon system, home to major Confederation shipyards and defense installations. At the same time, specialized strike teams led by Colonel Samantha Rivera conducted attacks on 7 critical command and control centers across Confederation space. These small, elite units used stealth technology to slip past enemy defenses. The Confederation was caught by surprise. They had expected a frontal assault on their core worlds. Instead, the humans systematically targeted the infrastructure that kept the Confederation military functioning. "Communications relay destroyed," reported a Confederation officer on Nexus Prime. "We've lost contact with the Antares sector." "Shipyards at Procyon are under heavy attack," said another. "Defense fleet is responding, but human forces are using new tactics we haven't seen before." For the first time in its long history, the Confederation's High Council felt true fear. The humans were not just winning battles, they were dismantling the Confederation piece by piece. "The council chamber is no longer safe," announced the head of security. "We must evacuate the leadership to the emergency bunkers." Never before had the High Council been forced to flee their capital. The psychological impact was devastating. Across remaining loyal territories, news of the Council's flight spread quickly, further damaging morale. On the front lines, human forces pressed their advantage. The Martinez Capri Drive allowed their ships to jump in and out of battle with precision, striking key targets before enemy ships could respond. "Shield generators down," reported the commander of a Confederation defense station, as human missiles struck with perfect accuracy. How did they know exactly where to hit us? The answer was simple. Humans had been studying Confederation technology for years. They knew its strengths and weaknesses better than many Confederation engineers. As human forces pushed deeper into Confederation space, desperate leaders turned to a weapon they had promised never to use. The Stellar Siphon was a massive station capable of accelerating a star's fusion process to create a controlled nova. "Target the Sol system," ordered Counselor Vrek, who had taken command of military operations. "Earth's destruction will end the human threat once and for all." The Siphon, hidden in a remote system far from human patrol routes, began powering up its main systems. It would take 3 days to reach full capacity, then another day to target Earth's sun. But human intelligence was better than the Confederation realized. Lieutenant Daniel Cooper, leading a special operations team aboard the stealth ship EDF Shadowhawk, had tracked the Siphon for months. "That's it," Cooper said, looking at the massive station through his view screen. "The Confederation's doomsday weapon. His team of 12 elite soldiers prepared for what might be a suicide mission. Their orders were clear: destroy the siphon at any cost. "We have one shot at this," Cooper told his team. "The station is heavily guarded. Once we're detected, we'll have minutes at most to reach the main reactor and plant the charges." Using captured Confederation security codes, the Shadowhawk docked with the siphon, claiming to be a supply vessel. For a few precious minutes, the deception worked. Then alarms blared throughout the station. "Intruder alert. Human forces detected in Docking Bay 7. Cooper and his team raced through the station's corridors, fighting their way past elite Confederation guards. 3 humans fell in the first firefight, but the rest pushed forward. "Main reactor is 2 levels down," reported Cooper's second-in-command, checking the stolen schematic. "We need to hurry. They're sealing bulkheads." With time running out, Cooper made a decision. "Jackson, Harris, hold this junction. Buy us time." The 2 soldiers nodded, knowing they likely wouldn't survive. As Cooper and the remaining team members descended toward the reactor, the sounds of intense fighting echoed behind them. The fate of Earth now rested on their ability to reach the reactor core before it was too late. Lieutenant Cooper and his remaining team reached the main reactor of the Stellar 7. Only 5 of them had survived the journey through the station. They could hear the sounds of Confederation forces closing in. "Set the charges around the primary coolant system," Cooper ordered. "We have less than 3 minutes before they break through." As his team worked, Cooper accessed the station's computer system. What he found shocked him. "This isn't just targeting Earth," he told his team. "They've used this weapon before. 3 natural stellar events in the past century were actually siphon attacks against worlds that challenged Confederation authority. The charges were set, but Confederation forces had reached the outer doors of the reactor room. Heavy cutting tools were already burning through the sealed entrance. 30 seconds until they break through," warned Sergeant Kim, the team's demolitions expert. Cooper looked at the explosives, then at the reactor itself. The charges would damage the siphon, but the station might still be repairable. "Change of plans," he said suddenly. "Reset the charges on the containment field generators. We're going to overload the reactor instead." "Sir, that will destroy the entire station," Kim replied. "Including us." Cooper nodded. "I know. But it will also make sure this weapon can never be used again." As Confederation forces broke through the door, Cooper's team triggered the modified explosives. The containment fields failed instantly. The reactor began to destabilize, energy levels rising beyond safe limits. "What have you done?" screamed the Confederation commander as his forces poured into the room. "Ended your weapon," Cooper replied calmly. "And your war." The stellar siphon exploded in a burst of energy visible across 3 star systems. The Confederation's ultimate weapon was destroyed, along with Cooper and his brave team. When news of the siphon's destruction reached Earth, the impact was immediate. President Morgan, now in her 2nd term leading the war effort, called for a temporary halt to Operation Daybreak. "We have evidence that the Confederation was prepared to destroy our sun," she announced to the public. "Yet we will not respond in kind. We seek justice, not revenge." Her message was broadcast across all Confederation channels. Many worlds that had remained loyal now questioned their leaders. If the High Council was willing to destroy an entire star system, what else would they do to maintain power? 2 weeks later, representatives from both sides met aboard a neutral Korvax diplomatic vessel orbiting Earth. The Confederation, its military broken and its populations in revolt, had no choice but to negotiate. The Treaty of Terra officially ended the war. The Galactic Confederation was dissolved, replaced by the Interstellar Concordat, a new organization founded on principles of self-determination and mutual defense. President Morgan, her hair now completely gray after 6 years of war, addressed the representatives of 42 species. "We never wanted dominion over the stars," she said. "We sought only the freedom to determine our own fate, a right we recognize for all sentient beings. The human military, now the most powerful force in known space, began to stand down. The Earth Defense Fleet transitioned into the Concordat Peacekeeping Force, with ships staffed by mixed-species crews. Admiral Linda Brown became its first commander, with representatives from 12 former Confederation species serving on the Admiralty Board. Research facilities once dedicated to weapons development were repurposed to address challenges facing multiple worlds: resource scarcity, environmental recovery, and sustainable energy. The Martinez-Ketry Drive was shared freely with all member worlds of the new Concordat. In Geneva, a memorial was built listing the names of all who had fallen in the conflict, human and alien alike. At its base, a simple inscription read, "They feared our capacity for war, but discovered our greater capacity for peace." Ambassador Elizabeth Carter walked through the halls of the new Concordat headquarters on Nexus Prime. The building, once the center of Confederation power, now housed representatives from across the galaxy. The Zivar elder approached her. "I must confess, Ambassador," he said, "when humans declared war, we thought the galaxy was doomed. We believed you would destroy everything in your path." Carter smiled. "We could have, but that was never our goal." "What was your goal then?" the elder asked. "To be recognized," Carter replied. "Not feared, not worshipped, just respected as equals." As ships from 100 worlds flew peacefully above the city, the galaxy had learned its lesson. Humans fought with unmatched ferocity when threatened, but their greatest strength was their capacity for forgiveness and their vision of a better future for all.